Mike Huckabee's campaign about. Let's see what our A-list has to say about this. David Korn is here. Hi, David.
Hi, good
to see you. He's a Washington bureau chief for Mother Jones Magazine and Fox News contributor as well. Jason Rowe is joining us at the live desk for the first time. He's a Republican strategist. Griff Jenkins is here as well. He's a Fox News correspondent, of course, and today's Fox Wildcard, our own Jody Applegate, co-host of Good Day New York. Good to have everybody here. Well, let's, Jason, since you're the new guy on the block, let's kick things off with you and get your thoughts on this very tight race that we see unfolding between Mike Huckabee and John McCain. We should point out that Paul Weyrich, who's a strong conservative, came out in support of Mike Huckabee today. Do these endorsements matter from Gary Bauer and Weyrich at this point in the race?
You know, I think they're going to start to, because I think Huckabee is actually doing John McCain a favor, because I think conservatives want to get this thing over with and rally behind one candidate. And I don't think any conservative thinks that Mike Huckabee is going to be a guy that can win for us in November. And so, you know, Huckabee is doing what McCain can't do for himself, and that's to get Republican regulars and conservatives to close ranks behind his candidacy.
What do you think about this, Jody? You know, a lot of people say Mike Huckabee should get out of the race. He says, look, nobody's won yet. You need 1,191 delegates to win this race, so why should I go anywhere until it's won?
And technically, Ron Paul is still in the race also.
He is. Did quite well in Washington, actually.
Yeah. You know, there's a school of thought that Huckabee is doing McCain a favor by acting almost as a sparring partner, keeping him in the news. And we had this issue on my very show this morning, because all the drama really is on the Democratic side. And so you talk about Obama, Clinton, Obama. First thing you know, you've talked for 4 minutes. You've got to quickly, you know, to balance things out, you got to get a Republican question in there. Just to be fair, even if there really isn't much drama, at least it gives you a little something to talk about to keep McCain in the papers. If maybe it's not quite on the front page, it's kind of near the front.
Interesting. David Korn, go ahead.
I have a less conspiratorial explanation of Mike Huckabee's campaign. He's having too much fun to stop.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that.
I think he wants to get on Letterman and Leno at least for more time. He's playing guitar with Ricky Skaggs. I don't think until he makes it with the Doobie Brothers is he willing to quit the race. The one thing to watch is, yeah, he might be a sparring partner now. He has 2 weeks before Ohio and Texas, 3 weeks. If he doesn't turn up the heat on McCain, then we'll know he's sort of in this for not to win but to have fun. Now is the chance for him to really make a strong contrast. He hasn't gone after McCain the way he went after Romney. One has to wonder why.
Yeah, what do you think the reason is for that, Griff? Why aren't they going at each other? I mean, we know they get along. They're friends, for one thing.
Well, because he's the conservative guy. He's now, Romney's out, so he's perceived. And as Karl Rove pointed out, he's not going to win. It's not mathematically possible. But as David pointed out, he's having fun. So he's now Miracle Mike. Now, the challenge in Washington, perhaps, maybe. I mean, you know, the party chairman shouldn't have called it so early, but does it really matter in the delegate count? Not really. He's got so much ground to make up, but at the same time, it keeps it alive. Mike's not down.
All right, let's listen to Gary Bauer earlier on Happening Now today on Fox.
I just feel strongly at this point that while Senator McCain reaches out to conservatives, that conservatives should try to reach out to him, try to unite together, work on those things we disagree on, but unite in order to defeat the two alternatives in November, either one of which would be a disaster, in my view, for our country or for conservatives.
Gary. So, Jason, what do you think about that? I mean, one of the big questions is just getting people enthusiastic on the Republican side. You know, Gary Bauer chiming in now saying we all have to get together. How strong is that chorus, and when do you think it's going to be?
Well, I think it's starting. You know, I think when you see what happened in Washington State with the chairman maybe prematurely calling the state for Senator McCain, you see a lot of people that were uncomfortable with McCain during the earlier part of the election until Romney's departure, now, you know, closing in behind him. I think most people have accepted in their minds it's going to be McCain, except Huckabee. And we can't forget that Huckabee may well be trying to leverage the support that he has in the form of delegates at a convention to leverage himself either a running mate spot or some very visible role in the campaign or in an administration.
All right.
But there still are some high-profile Republicans out there, Rush Limbaugh and culture conservatives, I should say, more than Republicans, who just won't accept John McCain. And they're not going to get behind him just because they want to, you know, the Republicans to win in November. And that's a fight, that's a contest that's not going away. And the fact that Paul Weyrich, one of the leaders of the New Right, went out and endorsed Mike Huckabee today shows that there are some conservatives like Jim Dobson who just can't stand John McCain.
All right, we'll see if they get behind him one time or another. David, thanks. We're going to be right back with this story. An NBC newsman gets a timeout after using a very unflattering term in reference to Chelsea Clinton. Then her mom got mad about it, and oh boy, we'll tell you what happened after that. We'll be right back. All right, well, there has been a lot of talk about a remark that an MSNBC reporter made about Chelsea Clinton last week. Reporter David Schuster was temporarily suspended after asking this question and discussing Chelsea Clinton's role in her mom's campaign. He said, doesn't it seem like Chelsea is sort of being pimped out in a weird sort of way? Well, last September, we're just going back to look at some other references like this. Last September, MSNBC host Keith Olbermann used the same words in discussing President Bush and General David Petraeus, saying, quote, and in pimping General David Petraeus, and in violation of everything that this country has been assiduously and vigilantly against for 220 years, and it goes on in an Olbermann sort of way from there. Hillary Clinton also said about this, about the Chelsea comment, that she was deeply offended by the remark about her daughter, and she accused the network of, quote, troubling patterns of comments. Chris Matthews, to point to another situation that got a lot of attention, the host of MSNBC's Hardball, came under fire last month when he said this about Hillary Clinton. Let's not forget, and I'll be brutal, the reason that she's a U.S. Senator, the reason that she's a candidate for president, the reason that she may be a front runner is that her husband messed around. Now, he recanted that statement. He apologized for it, as David Schuster has apologized for his statement as well. Let's see what our A-list has to say about this. You know, it's a hot-button sort of issue. People like to be edgy on these sort of shows and say things that they're not supposed to say, and yet, you know, they're stepping over the line. And in this case, NBC clearly says that David Schuster stepped over the line. I don't know if it's a slap on the wrist or more than that, but he's suspended for some period of time. What do you think about it, Jody?
Well, you know, it's tricky, especially in this day and age where the line between news and comment gets very blurry, especially in prime time. And you're told to be, you know, edgy and hip and young, and the P word, it has lost its original meaning. I mean, I was saying it's like the word junkie. Like someone says a news junkie. Doesn't mean they're in an alleyway shooting up heroin. It's a word that has become almost innocent. It has entered the slang. And there's even that show where you fix up your car.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I said this morning. It's like the first
ride.
time I heard Pimp My Ride, I looked at my kids like,
Yeah.
what did you just say? But it has a different connotation, I think, for some people. But that doesn't mean, I mean, clearly, you know, Hillary Clinton took great offense to it. It is interesting to me that it comes from, you know, that this is coming from NBC. You know, it's interesting that with all of the grief that Fox gets, you know, for these sorts of issues, you never hear this sort of thing being said.
Well,
about
let me
Fox.
say a word
Go
about
ahead, David.
Well, David Schuster's a friend, and that wasn't obviously a dumb remark. He usually is a reporter, not a TV show host, and usually does pretty good straight-up reporting. I think trying to be edgy, he used this term that has slipped into the vernacular, and he was, you know, too lazy about it. And I do think, though, that the Hillary Clinton campaign, part of their strategy is when things like that happen, to take full advantage of it as possible.
Look like
And
the
you know,
victim.
they did that with Chris Matthews and others in the past. Not to justify Chris Matthews' remark either, but it's something that actually feeds into Hillary Clinton's campaign strategy by getting her base roiled up.
You know, are the Clintons being picked on? You know, because when you look at Meghan McCain, you look at the Romney boys, nobody said that about them. You know, are they unfairly being picked on?
Well, I think in some ways, yes. I do think that, you know, she's in this weird position, not weird, but historic position of being the first female major presidential candidate. And, you know, people sometimes react to that in all sorts of emotional ways. And and she gets treated, and the whole business about her laugh and the cackle, I think was going overboard, because we don't analyze how men laugh about things, usually.
We laugh about how you laugh, David, but that's another matter. Well, let's take a look at what Hillary Clinton had to say.
I have sent a letter to the head of NBC expressing the deep offense that I took and pointing out what has been a troubling pattern of demeaning treatment. And I would expect appropriate action to be taken.
Jody?
Let me just say, I'm not defending at all what David Schuster said. He probably should have chosen a different phrase. And I did used to work at MSNBC, in terms of full disclosure. But we had Mo Rocca on recently, and he was joking about the Romney boys. And he took a pot shot or two at how one or two of them look or don't look. And it was no big deal, and there was, you know, no harm, no foul, and everybody laughed and we moved on. But if it had been a daughter of Romney's and a similar comment was made about her, you know, that might have raised more eyebrows, and maybe that's legit. I don't know.
Quick thought from Griff.
Quickly, as a father, I understand her outrage, but at the same time, Chelsea's 27 years old. She has 4 campaign stops today. Let's hear what she has to say. I mean, there's a reason why no one said John McCain's pimping his mom out, because Mrs. McCain would put the beat down on whatever reporter that is. Let's hear from Chelsea on this issue,
Well,
not
this
just Hillary.
is a shiny object to distract everybody from the fact that she just lost the last 5 primaries to Obama, and they're going to drive this as long as they can.
All right, good point. All right, we're going to be right back.